with us today. All right, enough of just me. Here comes my guest, Tia Nicole Dorsett. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Now, everyone, this is an incredible interview that we have here for you. Tia is an author and an entrepreneur, author of Trust Your Dopeness. Excited to get into your new book as well. But somebody who has really been on the journey, doing the things, living it out, walking it step by step. Tia, I'd love to hear your story. How in the world did you get to where you are, published author, running this company, doing all this incredible work in the world? Give us some of the backstory of how you got here.
Oh, man. So I have been working with middle school students for probably about 3 or 4 years. And a lot of the issues that I kept running into was that, their self-esteems were just a mess. And so
Mm,
for me, that's always been in the back of my mind. How can I support people? And not necessarily as a counselor or a therapist or anything like that, but just kind of living my life to show them,
mm,
hey, there's a different way, there's a better way. And as far as entrepreneurship, man, I think I was just born to run a business because
uh-huh.
my grand yeah, my grandfather, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. And so my grandfather had one of the first Black owned businesses. He had a masonry business as well as
Wow.
yeah, and a gas station. Funny story, the gas station used to have, or the gas pumps used to have my name on them, Tia Sprinkle.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So like,
you take that off, you got to keep that on.
well, here's the deal. So the store got sold some years ago. So not too
Hmm.
sure what they
Okay,
have
fine.
on those pumps at this point.
Right, we got to check it out. I'm gonna go double check. I love
Fantastic.
that. I love that. Okay, so your grandpa's an entrepreneur, and then you. Where did you get it from?
So I would go to the store and I would work with him sometimes as a kid. I'm like 8 years old running the cash register. And so for
Mm,
me, I always thought that maybe I could get into it, but I just didn't know how to do it. And
yeah.
so at this point, I have so many different side hustles. And what I realized was that my passion is really to be helpful, to serve,
Mm,
and to make an impact on people's lives because I feel like right now there's so much negative and people just, they're having a tough time trying to get out of it. And, I always make the example that when the pandemic first happened, it was like a 50-50 thing, right? So 50% of the people got depressed and they got down and didn't know what to do.
mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah.
I think there's that other 50% that said, I need to get to know myself. I need to work. What
Yeah.
can I do to make me better? And
Mm,
that's what I ended up doing. And I mean, it has been an amazing journey. I took that time to write this book, to start my online business, e-commerce,
wow.
Mackenzie's Charlotte. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just took the time to do the work. And I admit it was terrifying in the beginning, but once it started going, I was like, who am I becoming? This is crazy. So
Mm.
yeah,
I love that. People say that entrepreneurs, a lot of them are opportunists, right? There's kind of the pessimist, glass half empty, and then there's the optimist, glass half full. But then there's the entrepreneur is like, well, I drank the glass of water. Like I just, we're not. I'm not arguing about whether it's half full or half empty. Like I'm thirsty, And so I think hearing that in your story is really cool to see. And then I think the piece about just wanting to be of service and wanting to be an impactor is really going to resonate with the listeners here because that's a lot of our community here are people who are about it for something so much bigger than just themselves or just the dollars or whatever that is. So, what is that for you? What is the driver? What is your why behind that passion? Why did you choose to lean in instead of, just kind of going the traditional route in, what a lot of people ended up doing in the pandemic, which people are getting through however they need to, not knocking anybody. But
right.
what's the why for you? What's the driver? What's moving you?
Well, I do want to double back on something that you said about the glass.
Mm.
Ironically, there is a page in my book
Ah,
right here that says at least you're drinking. So
I
listen,
love it. Come on, we're
yeah,
right on.
yes, okay. You,
That that's so great. That is so great. You can't make that stuff up.
Okay, you get it. You get it. So,
Yeah,
but
right there.
my, but to answer your question, my why, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, and also I felt that I wasn't spoken to in a way that made me believe that at some point I would have a lot of money. It was always my relationship with money was there's never enough. And I'm always ever going to have to struggle to get it. And so I started, again, doing the work, listening to ebooks, listening to TED Talks, doing all of these things. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought it wasn't for me, but now I know it's for me because there's no way that it can't not be for me. And so and as far as like my passion with it, it's just that it's the thought that how I used to think. And in the book, I do talk about the term unlearning. Unlearning is just, it's everything for me because like I've found myself in situations that had I been in them years ago, I would have completely reacted like a crazy person. Now I'm more into the logic. So I'm like, okay, that person's got something going on with them and it has nothing to do with me. So there's the compassion and the patience. And you can only do that when you do it for yourself. So once you stop judging yourself, you'll stop judging others. So
I think that's so true. I want to pause on that because I think, there was a quote I heard recently that says people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. Right. And so when you meet yourself that way, it actually allows you to meet others that way with compassion, with patience, and knowing that, there's always something deeper than what the person is projecting. Right. Usually anger has fear as a base. Right. Usually like there's something deeper underneath. And so I think the fact that you did that work actually allows you to show up in the world in really powerful ways. What do you think about that?
I completely agree with you. And, I have a therapist and I've been seeing her for maybe about 2 years.
Amen for therapy. Therapy's dope. Everyone on here, everybody needs to go to therapy. I don't care if you think you're okay. Go to therapy.
Go to just make sure,
unpack your shit. Right.
Yeah.
I really think about it. Ideally, it's like, a lot of people go to therapy like when your car's broken down, you go to the mechanic, right? Versus like, no, I just get my oil changed. I keep my tires filled up. I do my thing. Like, it's just maintenance if you do it the right way. Like, same thing going to the gym, same thing, whatever. Like, it's maintenance. It's beautiful. Absolutely. Mental health is just as important. Anyway, I'm passionate about this. So
same. And that's the thing. It's like, a lot of times when I see people, broken down and been out of shape about things, my first thought is, man, they don't have the tools. They don't have the tools. If they had the tools, life would be so much better for them. And that's, again, where the having patience part comes into it. And one of my favorite quotes that I like to, or not quotes, but I guess thoughts, is that when you think about if you had a child or a niece or a nephew or just some young person that came to you broken down, when they come to you, you don't turn them away. You don't treat them like crap. So then the question then is, why do you do that to yourself? If you got to start it, like you said, with yourself, and then you're able to do service for others and to others. And I think too, ego is really the root of a lot of things too. And I check mine all the time because I'm like, what am I really mad about? Why am I mad? What is it that I'm believing that this person is saying about me that I don't want to admit to?
Right. Then what in you is offendable?
Okay.
Like if you're offended, what in you is offendable? Like what in you is so fickle or so, fragile that somebody could even offend it? Because if you know yourself, then you're like, oh, that's cute. Y'all coming at me with some stuff, right? But it's not, I don't take it on personally. So then it's like, well, am I secure? Like, do I, otherwise what's offendable? If something pokes you, it's like, you don't find out what's in a tea bag till you put it in hot water. Like you put it in hot water, that it comes out. So I think that's a great perspective.
Yeah. And I mean, there's another analogy that says exactly what you're talking about here. I tell people all the time when I see them getting angry about something that they swear that they don't believe about themselves, I say this: listen, if somebody comes to me and they are adamant that I'm a pink elephant, a big fat pink elephant, and they are adamant, I get mad when I know for sure I am not that. I'm a human being.
Right.
You don't, And that's how you know when it's ego or when it's something that they're saying about you that you
That's
don't want to
good.
believe about yourself.
That's really good. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So what was your journey in? How did you really begin this journey to start unpacking, unlearning a lot of the pieces that you had learned? Where did it begin? Because I think for a lot of people, they're like, hey, I want to do the work. I want to be about this life. Where in the world do I start? Because it feels big.
Yeah, for me, I think I was tired of being sad all the time. I was tired of
Mm-hmm.
being mad with myself. And what I
Mm-hmm.
realized was the reason why I felt all of those things is because I did not set boundaries for myself. And I
Okay.
thought that, boundaries, was a scary place because if I set the boundary, I'm going to offend somebody. If I set the
Mm.
boundary, they're not going to want to hang out with me anymore. And so
Right.
you get to that point to where it's like, well, I actually love hanging out with myself.
Right.
And you know what? It's cool. Like if you're not getting what I'm doing and you don't like it, I'm cool with that
Mm-hmm.
because I no longer allow anyone else's opinion of me to change my opinion of me. And so,
Oh, that is so good. Come on, say
yeah,
that again
take that
for
one
the
in.
people in the
I
back.
don't ever allow anyone's opinion of you to change your opinion of you. And that quote is
Wow.
actually in the book as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's delicious. I was actually thinking about this as you were talking about the concept of self-esteem when you were talking about the middle schoolers and self-esteem. I heard a piece the other day that really had me thinking. It's called self-esteem, right? Self-esteem, esteeming myself. And yet so much of our self-esteem is dependent on what other people are saying about me. So that's not self-esteem at all. That's
Right.
others' right? That's what they think about me. That's all these things, right? Self esteem is actually what do I think about myself? Because that's really the only thing that matters. Everybody else talking over here, a lion never loses sleep over the opinions of sheep. Like self esteem, if I know who I am, I know what I am, I should be able to esteem myself regardless of how other people esteem me or don't. What do you think about that? Because this is unpacking. This is a new one for me.
I'm going to send you my book.
I
Listen,
need it.
do you understand? You just said one of my quotes and you didn't even know it.
Come on, I'm telling you.
In the book, I literally say it's called self-esteem, not other people's esteem. Wait till you look at the book. You're gonna be like, did I read this in the past
I'm
somehow?
telling you. I'm
I don't know
telling
how you're
you.
getting so good. This is incredible.
I'm telling
Universe
you.
brought it together, and it's all making sense.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, unpack that more because you've been camping out on this longer than I have. Unpack that more for us. The idea of self-esteem and what does it mean to actually build that versus, what other people are projecting.
Like I say all the time, here's the deal. I'm going to have to live this life. No one else can do that
Mm-hmm.
for me. And
Yeah.
so if I were to constantly continue to give my power away, I'm never going to
Mm-hmm.
grow and I'm never going to be satisfied with myself. And I think
Sure.
the bigger part to that is to stop making comparisons. Me being
Mm.
40 and someone else is 40 looks totally different. They may
Sure.
have, the big house and the great job or whatever, and then I may have hardly anything and be
Mm-hmm.
broken down. And it's just like, what does that have to do with me? I have to focus
Right.
on me. I've got to do the work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what people forget. No one can do it for you. They cannot do your
Right.
life. And you have to
Right.
really get to a place where either you're going to settle and say, hey, this is as good as it's going to get. This is it. Not
Mm.
for me. I have too many nieces and a mother that I have to take care of. And
Wow.
I am like heck bent on getting it right and leaving a
Yeah.
legacy for my family. I have to do it. It's
I
imperative.
love the piece that you said about the timeline and not judging your timeline by anybody else's timeline. I think, there are people like J.K. Rowling who didn't write Harry Potter until whatever age, or, all of these different Colonel Sanders who didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think he was like in his 60s or 70s or something
Yep.
crazy, right? Before they hit kind of their home run or the thing they found their sweet spot finally. I think the journey is the point, right? Like as you walk on this journey, it's not about arriving anywhere. It's about the journey itself and falling in love with that process. And I know we wanted to talk about that here today, how to actually enjoy the process, enjoy the journey of entrepreneurship. So let's head there. What does that
Yeah.
actually look like to find real joy on the journey, even when it's hard?
And I would agree with what you're saying too, because it's not about when you arrive, it's about how you arrive.
Come on.
So,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah. So my thing is, I've seen where people have worked so hard and they make sure to constantly tell you that, oh, I had to do this and I had to do that. And it's like, man, did you enjoy the journey though? Because
Right.
I write about that in the book as well. That we're doing this together. This is our journey. I love to just watch people, from the beginning all the way through to where they are now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Even for myself, I have done a 180 from a year and a half ago, and my therapist told me, she said, "Listen, I'm not even going to allow you to release the book until you're living your life as what you're talking about in this book."
Yeah. You better be walking the talk. I love that.
Yeah. She said, "You're not ready." And that was about 10 months ago. Here we are, published the book May 2nd, obviously after having a conversation with her.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh yeah, it's time. You've done it." And she said, if someone would have told me when I first met you that you would be where you are right now, mentally and emotionally, please.
Come on.
And this is the other thing too. Yep. There's have you heard of Wise Mind? Are you familiar with the Wise Mind?
Nope.
So Wise Mind is, if you think about two circles or two rings, you have your emotional self and then you have your logical self. When you put that together, in the middle, there's an oval. That is your wise mind. So what does that mean? That is the mind that, if you want to have a great life, that's where you need to live, because most times people are way too emotional or they're way too logical and comes off cold and uncaring and a bit what's the word, dismissive, right? So for me, every day when I find myself in situations where I'm like, well, how are you going to react? And then I tell myself, okay, use your wise mind. It's okay to acknowledge that you're mad about it. Feel it.
Right. Feel it. Yes.
And then move on, because you have to acknowledge that. And, but yeah, so that's what I have to say about that.
I love that. That's so great. Okay. So now talk about the process of your book, right? Because even that is a process, and you hinted at it a little bit, with your therapist and working through that journey. First, why? Why did you embark on this journey to write it? And then walk us through how you actually got from concept to published book, because I know there are a lot of listeners here who have something to say, have some, real wisdom to bring to the world, or some, passion to bring to the world. That journey can feel daunting, becoming a published author, this thing that's, a huge feeling thing. But I really want to hear it practically from you, somebody who's just walked it out and did it. So first, why, and then how?
Absolutely. So funny story. It all started because of my best friend at the time. Pardon me, my throat is so dry.
That's all good. It's getting dry out here.
Allergies, right? So my best friend and I were on the phone, and she was very worked up, very, excited about a payment for her rent. And I was trying to explain to her, trying to pull that logic out of her. Listen, it's going to zero out. You're not going to go into the negative. And I knew for a fact, because I had come from working in property management. So I'm telling her what I know for fact. But because she was so emotional, she wouldn't let me get in there. And I said, well, I've done all I can do. Have a great rest of your day. Once we hang up, take 10 seconds, breathe in, get some oxygen to your brain so that you can calm down, And she says, okay. So then she called me back that same day. And I said, I didn't answer the phone because I'd already said what I had to say. I'm not going to waste my time. And I knew what was going to happen. Next day she calls me. Oh my God, I should have listened to you. I said, honey, I said, logic and I were at your front door, but emotions fat ass wouldn't let us in. Okay.
Right.
So when I told her that, she goes, you have the best analogies and you come up with them so quick. Like, you need to write this stuff down. That was step one. That was the very beginning. And it brought me to an idea that one of my friends had told me a while back. He said, you've got this thing and I need for you to make it lucrative. I don't know what it
Mm,
is. I don't know if it's a podcast or a TV show or I don't
right.
know. But
But
do
you need to be
something.
enjoying abundance because of who you are. Yeah.
Yes, and it has to be
Yeah.
genuine. It has to be,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how it started. So I went to my life coach, my business mentor, and my therapist, and had that conversation. Oh yes, I needed a team to keep me accountable.
Look, life is a team sport. It really is.
Absolutely,
Like it is not an individual effort. I don't care who says they're self-made or any of that type of stuff. It doesn't exist. Everybody's got a
absolutely.
team.
I totally agree with you. And so from there, that was the very first quote in the book that I wrote. And so it went from like one quote up to like maybe 85. And I
Mm,
thought, okay, if I don't stop now, I'm never going to publish it. So I
wow.
went and I started looking into publishers and, checking prices and all that good stuff. So the lady that I ended up going with was a good friend of a woman who I used to teach Spanish to. I was her
Cool.
tutor. And yeah, and this woman, she's a PhD, so very smart, but didn't have a whole lot of time. So
Hmm.
anywho, totally random. But yeah, so she introduced me to her publisher, and that's how I found my publisher.
Wow. That's so
And
cool.
yeah, and then what your other question was, oh, the process.
Yeah, the process of how, like putting it together and getting it out and all this, like just kind of demystify the process of authorship, right? For people that have something to say but don't know how to get it out.
The biggest thing I think that I would tell people is this is really where you have to have that patience. Because if
Hmm.
you're writing something that is meaningful to you and you're really passionate about, you have to take your time. Because even for
Hmm.
me, I started writing the analogies and the quotes, but what I didn't do was give a breakdown of each, why I wrote it, what did it mean to me? And that was the conversation that I had with my therapist. And she said,
Mm,
this is not done. Go back and put more
mm,
into it because people are
yeah.
not getting all of you. They need all of
Mm,
that. And I was
yeah.
like, oh man, I just want to get it published. I wasn't having patience. So then
Right.
I had to practice what I was preaching. And I'm like, what is the big rush? You have time to
Mm,
do it. This is your thing. This is your project. You created this. So yeah, I just went back and I took my time with it. And I'm glad that I did.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Now, break down the book for us. You have the quotes in there. You got the pieces. Like, what is the format of the book? What can people expect when they open it?
Well, first of all, they're going to be like, what type of table of contents is this? I've never seen anything like it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'll give an example. I believe it's 1 through 12.
Okay.
One of my favorites is number 2, which says, "Oh shit, you forgot how awesome you were. That's okay. You're lucky I'm here. Just go head over to page 52."
Uh-huh. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sending you
fun.
a book, Justin.
Oh
You
yeah, I
you
need this thing. I'm
yeah,
I'm telling you, that's right on time.
yeah, I'm gonna get
Oh,
that shipped over to you today.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I need
My
this.
gift to you, absolutely.
Now, how about what is a part of the book that is currently challenging you, right? So, a concept or something that you're leaning deeper into because the journey's never done, right? And I remember, like, when I wrote my book, I go back to it, I'm like, oh man, I really should listen to myself because that shit was good. And I need to take it in right now for me because I'm not walking it, right? Like, I'm not walking it as fully as I should be. So,
Yeah.
what's one right now that sticks out for you that's like, man, I'm working on this. I'm processing this.
Wow, wow, that's so good. So good. I literally went through the same thing. I have a couple of videos on YouTube and my
Uh-huh.
therapist said, go back and listen to yourself because it was good. I need you to get back
Right.
on track with you by listening to you. So that resonated with me when you said that. I'm like,
Yes.
I get it. I get it.
Right. Well, because I really do think it is it's almost like lower self listening to higher self. They're all one, but sometimes higher self is showing up and putting something out, right? The higher version of me is putting something out. And then sometimes lower self needs to like go back and listen to me. And I really think whether you write a book or do a YouTube or anything like that, you better be listening to you, right? Because
Absolutely.
you know best for you. No one else can make it up for you, right?
Well,
And so,
exactly.
yeah.
Here's the deal. So to answer that question, it would have to be this one: detachment from outcome. Now hear me good. And hear
Mm-hmm.
when I tell you this, when and or if anyone can really grasp that concept and live their life that way, you can say hello to a peaceful life, a joyful life, the best life ever. And let me tell you why. A lot of times when you find people that are broken down and just so miserable in their lives, it's because their life isn't happening the way that they want it to. What needs to happen is they have to sit back and figure it out. What do I want it to look like? And what am I willing to do to make it happen? There's going to be sacrifices, but at the end of the day, you have to remember everything's okay. It's okay, because if it wasn't okay, then what? I mean, it's like, you have to remember that. So I'm going to take a step back and explain further on that.
Yeah.
There was a time that friends have asked me questions, or family, whoever, that would say, now, I know you're really excited about going to Dominican Republic. How are you going to feel if it doesn't happen? And old me would have been like, I'm already pre-feeling the feeling before it even happened. So that's sabotage right there.
Wow. Yep. Yep.
So now that I'm learning to master the art of detachment from outcomes and emotions, now I can say, you know what? If I go, that'll be great. It'll be a good time. And if I don't go, that's okay too. Let's see what else I'll be doing, because I'll be doing something else. You see what I'm saying?
And either way, I get to be with me, my favorite person.
Yes. And either way, whatever was supposed to happen, that's what's going to happen. There are so many things that I think that hold people back from being happy and having peace, because in their mind, they feel that they can control the things that are outside of themselves.
Right.
So for those people, I say what you need to do is control the things that you do that bring you happiness and that bring you joy, because that's something you can always do. No one can take that from you. But you cannot control if you don't have the husband or the children yet, or whatever it is that you're comparing your life that other people have. You're setting yourself up for disappointment.
That's so good. And what I love about what you said is it's not passive, right? It's not just like, oh, whatever happens, happens. It's like, no, I'm setting an intention. And the way you said is, what are you going to do to move your life in that direction and still remaining detached from the outcome? I really think that's the sweet spot. I think you did it, where like strong intention, action towards the thing, and I'm still not attached to it looking a certain way, because there's so much joy at that sweet spot of just doing the work and being like, I know I'm putting it in.
And one of the things that I realized about myself in the process was that, holy crap, I was still looking for validation from other people and didn't even realize it. And how I came to realize it was when I said, to myself, why are you so mad that they're not liking what you're doing? Right. It's bringing you so much joy and it's so good for you. Why are you being affected by this? And then I stop and I say, oh yeah, that's so ridiculous. Oh, I'm done with it now. Yeah, I don't have to prove anything to you. And not only that, I don't need your validation anymore. I do that for myself. It took a long time. And since now that I'm here and I've arrived with me and I love me some me, you're not going to take it from me. I'm not going to let you hurt her. I'm going to protect this little lady.
Yes. So what does the process of validation look like for yourself? Self-validation, we're talking about self-esteem. I think self-validation is kind of another piece of that. What does that look like for you to really be able to validate without just like drinking your own Kool-Aid, if you know what I mean? Like, it's not just like, oh, yeah, whatever I do or whatever I say, it doesn't matter. Like, I could, what does it look like to be validating and still getting the wisdom of others and, all that? What's that sweet spot? Because that seems like a tricky one.
Yeah. So I was thinking about a quote that I have in my second book. It has not been released yet. I'm co-authoring it with my little sister. Yeah. You are going to love it. Listen, we'll get there. We'll talk about that at some other time.
But we'll put another interview. You just let me know when that thing
we got to do it. Of course. Yeah. I'm here for it. And I absolutely. So in the book, I say, just because they're not interested doesn't mean you're not interesting. So when we're talking about validation, you have to get so comfortable with rejection that it doesn't bother you anymore. There was a time that I had a crush on one of my neighbors. And at that time in my life, I was focusing very much on rejection, how to take it, how to move through it, all of that stuff. And it was great. He never called me. We would see each other all the time, walking our dogs. Hey, neighbor, hey. And I had given him my number, never texted me back, never called me. And this went on for maybe, I think I texted him once or twice, one week and then another week, no response.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh my God, he didn't respond, and I feel great still. Like this is okay. Yeah, I need some more of this. I want a little bit more rejection so I can get better. Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful.
As a practice, yes,
because I was like, man, gosh, all that heartbreak that I put myself through all those times. And that's the other thing too. People don't want to admit that the thing that someone did to them, it didn't make them do anything. They themselves felt, oh, now I'm heartbroken. Instead of, you broke my heart. It's like, no. You allowed that person to break your heart.
Right.
And that's why you have to be careful who you allow in your intimate spaces, because not everybody deserves to be there.
Right. That is a fact. And I think even just being able to sit with, no, it's okay that my heart is broken. And it doesn't mean, oh, this person did it, or, okay, this is what I'm feeling now, and sit there and move through it. But you're absolutely right. There is so much more that we need to be doing to love ourselves, to not put ourselves in that position. I think there's a quote that I love about that a bird sits confidently on a branch, not because it trusts the branch, but because it trusts its own wings.
Wow. Right? I like it.
It's not like, no, the branch is still there. I'm still going to enjoy the branch. If you think about this like a relationship or anything like that, I'm still going to enjoy the branch, but I'm not scared of the branch breaking, not because I'm necessarily know that the branch is as solid as I think it is. I don't know. It might not be. However, I know that I got wings. If it really came down to it, I know, I can take off. So that's why you can sit confidently in a relationship and just feel like, well, I'm going to be okay regardless of where this goes. And I think what that does is it allows you to lean into things, because otherwise you just say, well, forget it. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to put myself out there. I'm not going to, risk getting hurt. No, to love is to risk being hurt. That is literally what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's the thing. People are so fearful of feeling the pain and going through that. But for me, I know that when you have the tools, you're already prepared for that. And if you have the patience and the compassion, you can say, I am hurt, and that's okay. But, it's not to blame and point fingers. I mean, that's the thing. And I think, again, a lot of times people want to say, you did this to me. Now, this is why I can't grow. And this is why I cannot do anything. And the moment that people, I think when they get to that, like you said, that soft spot where it's like, oh my God, life can be awesome. What? I don't have everything that I need. I don't have the perfect life, and I'm at peace, Oh man, it's just like, oh gosh, I wasted so much time. But I also understand that I am right where I need to be at this time in my life, because this is the way that it was written, and this is the way that it was supposed to happen. So I'm just enjoying the ride, man. I'm telling you, it.
That's so great. And what I love about your journey, it really reinforces to me that so much of this is more caught than taught. I think if you had released the book and just taught the things, right? These are good concepts. The fact that you live it, the fact that you've been through this journey, I think infuses your words with gravity, infuses the words with some weightiness versus just, throwing out some quotes or whatever. Because now, even this interview, it's like so much of this is caught. I'm feeling it. Not just caught. It's not just the words that you're saying, because you actually live it. You actually practice this journey. What do you think about that?
I tell you, it's a lot of fun still being on the journey, because I look at when certain things happen and how I react to it. And that's how I know I've been practicing what I talk about in the book, because I step back, and then there are times that perhaps I don't do the right thing. And then I say to myself, and that's okay too, because this is a whole new person. You're still unlearning so much behavior that of course you're going to have goof ups. And regardless of whoever says what about it, that's none of my business. And that's there's a quote, and I can't remember who said this. I feel like it was like Joel Osteen or somebody, and they said, "What other people think about you is none of your business."
Yep.
I love it. I love it. When I see people looking at me, I don't know if they're, the negativity that may be coming off. I don't know what that's about. Again, probably has nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. I gotta mind my business and just keep on my walk. I can't be thrown on by frivolous things. It's such a waste of time.
It is. And I think that really comes back to one of the early concepts in this interview of self-esteem, right? Like when you esteem yourself, it's like, well, not really concerned about what anybody else says or thinks. Like if they align, that's cool. If not, then, you keep it moving. So tell us more about this next business that you have coming up, because you were talking about going from online store to brick and mortar. I'd love to hear more of that process so we can track on that journey. Tell us about Mackenzie's. What do you got going on there?
Oh man, I am so excited about that. So a couple of years ago, I had started my first business at a flea market, and I loved it. I had such a good time. But what started happening was I'd have some of the plus size ladies and young girls that would come to me and they'd say, "We see you here all the time, but you don't ever have anything for the big girls. What's up with that?" And so at the time, I was probably a size 0 or a size 2. And again, I was 26, so I was a bit younger. So my thought was very much about what I like and what I want for people to wear, right? Instead of what do my customers need? What is the solution to people?
Here you go.
What's their thing,
That's entrepreneurship. That is the whole foundation of entrepreneurship, is finding solutions. Yep.
Absolutely. So when I kept hearing that, I told this one lady, I said, "You know what, come back in 2 weeks. I got you." So I went on ahead and I stocked up on plus size clothing. And I think they went up to 3X at that time. Yeah. And so wouldn't you believe it? These women who I was not catering to came and bought it up. They sold out of all the plus size stuff. Meanwhile, I still had the little stuff that fit me. So what I learned from that was I never forgot that. It taught me that no matter, what your thing is, you cannot only always be focused on yourself. It's about other people. And it's like, what it feels like to not be accepted. And what it feels like to have people look at you and judge you for whatever reason. So the concept of the brick and mortar is, if you come into my store feeling broken down, you're not leaving that way. You are leaving with certainly some laughs, because I'm hilarious now. But you're leaving with some words of encouragement, and God only knows wisdom, everything. And I say that because going back to the plus size thing, I decided to do the sizes as extra, extra small, because typically in stores, it only goes to extra small. Okay. And typically in stores, it only goes up to about a 3X. So I said, no, we're going to take it a step back, extra, extra small, and then we're going to take it 3 steps up and have 6XL and have beautiful pieces, absolutely, for everybody. Because I know the story. I've heard it so many times from plus size women that, hey, I went to the store, y'all have my size, but you've got me looking like Humpty Dumpty. None of these items are flattering. And that's the key. Wear what's flattering, wear what looks good. So I want to create a space where people come in and they say, I cannot believe she has this here for me. It is for me. And that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do.
Your storefront is a front. And what I mean by that is the real work is people feeling good about themselves, leaving encouraged, all that type of stuff. And the vehicle is clothing, right? Like you're doing it through clothing, but really you're a clothing store disguised as, an inspiration house. Like I think that's beautiful. So your storefront is a front. You're dealing something behind the scenes, and what you're dealing is hope. What you're dealing is inspiration. And I love that. I love that. Cheering you on that journey for sure. So how do people get in touch with that work over there at Mackenzie's? How do they get in touch there?
So the website is MackenziesCharlotte.com, and Mackenzie's is MackenZies, Charlotte. I think we all know how to spell Charlotte.
Yeah.
.com.
I'm dropping that in the chat here. And then how do people get your book? What is the easiest way for them to get that?
Well, there's two ways. They can go to my website, and I'll give you that
Mm-hmm.
one as well, which is trustyourdopennessbook.com. And
All
that's
right.
spelled just like how it sounds.
Yeah.
And also, it's available currently on Amazon, and it's available on my McKinsey Charlotte website. So you can. There's a
Okay.
couple of different avenues, and next up is Barnes and Noble, and I've got a
Yeah.
few others that I'm looking into.
Yeah, get it. I want to see it everywhere. How do people get in touch with you personally? Because you are dope, and people need to access your dopeness as well.
Well, there's two different ways. You can reach out to me at Tia Nicole at at McKinsey'sCharlotte.com. So again, that's
Okay.
TIANICOLE at McKinsey'sCharlotte.com.
Okay.
Or you can reach me at info at trustyourdopennessbook.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Everyone, make sure you get in touch. Follow Tia on LinkedIn and all the other platforms. What else are you on? Where do people find you? You on the gram? You on all these places?
Yes. So on Facebook, it's the exact same way that my name is spelled here, Tia Nicole
Mm-hmm.
Dorsett. On
Yeah.
Instagram, it is what is it? Trust Your Dopeness Book on
Okay.
at Trust Your Dopeness Book on Instagram.
Okay. I love it. I love it. All right. So now, one last thought that I want to close us out here is, what do you wish you a year ago? What do you
Well,
know now that you wish you knew a year ago? Knowing that the process is perfect and you're exactly where you need to be. But what do you wish you knew a year ago that you know now that was like, man, this piece of mindset has been so helpful for me?
I think the fact that this is really doable. Like it really is going to come together, because
Yeah.
there was a point in time where I thought, am I ever even going to publish it? And
Yeah.
I think I thought that the process was going to be so difficult to where I just give up. And
Mm.
so I did a Kickstarter campaign,
Yeah.
and I never really knew or thought that people would go for it. And they did. They supported my
Wow.
game, and I made my goal. So I mean, yeah, that's probably the one.
Wow. Right. That it will come together some way, somehow.
There you have it. You summed
Yeah.
it up.
Persistence is everything. I love that. I love that. Tia, you're incredible. Thank you for everything that you do and all the ways that you make the world a better place. And I look forward to book number 2. I look forward to all of the other impact that you have in the world. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. And thank you for all that you do. I love watching all of your LinkedIn videos. As you know, you're like, wow, this girl really supports me.
No, I'm like, these are my
it.
people. It feels so good.
Absolutely. Keep it going, man.
Have to. And for all you listeners, thanks for tuning in. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with us. Make sure you follow Tia. Keep doing dope things. Trust your dopeness. Right there it is. Okay. Trust your dopeness. All right. And keep making a difference, y'all. Be well.